Hello, I'm going to be doing a quick review of the movie Sinners, and then I'm going to tie it in with a piece of literature that's quite old, that is easily as scary as the movie, and perhaps even worse. So if you haven't seen Sinners yet, it's a long movie, but it's got a lot of background on the group of people called the Gullah/Geechee people. And these people live in islands along Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Florida. And they're really their own nation. And the movie is quite scary because it deals in a lot of their folklore and their beliefs. And a lot of it would be considered superstitious probably by most cultures. But it's up to you to determine if you believe in any of the legends or stories that they tell in the movie. And out of curiosity, while they mentioned a monster in that movie that I'd never heard of before, I started researching it, and that's when I learned of the Gullah Geechee people. And there was a book written in 1940, and it's called Drums and Shadows: Survival Studies Amongst the Georgia Coastal Negroes. And I'm 22 pages into this book, and it's 200 and what is it? 200 and something pages long, 230 something. Anyway, it's not important, but it's quite scary. There are a lot of legends in this that are about things you shouldn't do, or bad things will happen, and there are things about monsters that are out at nighttime that they encountered, and the one guy tried to beat one down with a stick, and it turned into a cat in front of him, and he hit it and it turned into the cat and ran. And they're quite fast. He said he couldn't catch them. There was another, like a ghost, that was being chased that ran and disappeared into a tree. And a lot of these stories are worse than that, and I don't want to get into some of the things that can cause people harm and stuff like that, but it's quite spooky. So I've tried to determine, I saw the movie first. The movie's very good, although it ends up being mostly like a vampire movie. And a lot of people perhaps would just think, oh, it's another vampire movie because they've seen vampires being sneaky before, trying to gain access to places, and then the attacks, of course, are similar to other movies. But the folklore makes it very educated and interesting, and worth the time that the movie is in length. But you may be better off reading this book first and learning more about their culture before you go into the movie. And I'll tell you at the end of this, when I'm done reading it, I'll give it a full book review. But right now, it's, for me, as at least scary as the movie, and probably scarier. Some of those things in there is kind of like, I don't know if I want to be reading this. So I did this review outside because it gave you kind of that creepy fall, foresty kind of vibe, and I thought I'd do it out here and let you know about this book. And I believe I read that this was actually inducted into the Library of Congress as an important writing back in the day. Let's see. It's a collection of, oh, one thing I was going to tell you, a caveat here. There's interviews of the actual people that live in these islands, and it's a lot of broken English. So you will be forced to speak in your mind the broken English and then try to determine what they're saying. And it's doable, but you got to take your time. So the back says this collection of oral folklore from coastal Georgia was assembled during the 1930s as part of a WPA writers program, gathered principally from elderly African Americans, some of them well over 100 years old. Most had been slaves, in some cases first generation slaves who'd been born in Africa. It primarily revolves around magical beliefs and practices known as hoodoo, such as root doctors, ghosts, spirits, talismans, lucky and unlucky acts, omens, and more. The interviewer also investigates the use of drum and dancing, funeral and baptism rituals, food taboos, and other aspects of early Southern black culture. and dispels any doubt that these beliefs are rooted in African heritage, with comprehensive cross-references and an appendix of quotes from African ethnographers, folklorists, and explorers. And it says, do not be offended by the use of phonetic dialect spelling. This is not to ridicule speakers, rather this is scrupulously non-judgmental. May take a little bit of attention to decipher the vernacular, but after a few pages, the strong and humor-filled voices of the ancestors come to life. So far, hasn't been humorous for me. It's been kind of scary. There's been no drums so far in 22 pages. There was the dancing ritual, which was quite scary, and it involved a cult leader who claimed to be like a second coming of Christ. And apparently this guy was chased into the New York region and had millions of followers. I'd never heard of him before, but it was quite interesting. Pound for pound in 22 pages. Tons of interesting stories. And I don't know if the word is excited or dreading the next 200 plus pages of what is in this book. But it's real, and it's what the movie Sinners is based off. So if you like the movie and you like to read, this is a good one, Drums and Shadows. And if you want to be extra scared before watching the movie, read the book first.